Can you tell me how it all started?
Well, it all started back in a small little apartment duplex back in St. Joseph, Missouri. My Uncle Ronnie had simply brought me over a tape of the Breakin' soundtrack. Do you remember the movie Breakin'?
Oh.
It was a pretty big movie. It was about breakdancing, and what actually happened was he brought me over the tape, and we started listening to it, and he played me a song called Reckless by Ice-T. And then I liked the song, therefore I stole the tape from him and continuously, repeatedly throughout the day, played the tape and liked it so much that I learned the words by heart and then got into breakdancing at about age 12. About age 12, I used to carry a little boombox radio with me on my shoulder like this and a piece of cardboard everywhere I went. And sometimes my Uncle Ronnie and I would go to playgrounds, and we would throw the piece of cardboard down, simply set our radios down, play the loudest music we could, and we would simply breakdance. And that's what I used to like to do
Right.
as a hobby.
So when did you get into rap?
I got into rap when I realized that I couldn't breakdance.
Okay.
So then I figured I would start trying to rap. And then once I did, I started realizing that I could put words together, that I was actually semi-good at it. And then maybe when I hit about 17, I started realizing that like a lot of the shit that I was writing was better than half of the rappers that were out, like lyrically, like. So then I hooked up with these guys, the Bass Brothers, back in, I was about 17. And they had heard me rapping over the radio. There used to be this radio station I used to go to every Friday night called, it was like an open mic thing where you go up there and you play your demos. And Mark Bass, he heard me, I guess coming home in his car or something, and called up the radio station and was like, "Who is that?" And he was talking to us over the air. And he was like, "Why don't you guys come by? I'm a record producer, da-da-da-da. Come by, check it out." So we ended up hooking up with the Bass Brothers, and they had a connection at Elektra Records. So we got in there and we cut some songs better than demo songs. They were, you know, real, actual studio recordings. Well, what happened was Elektra turned us down. So me and Mark, we kind of went our separate ways. We still kept in touch a little bit. A few years later, 3-4 years later, I started making a name for myself in Detroit, just at clubs and whatnot, just rapping and, you know, at open mics and freestyling and battles, competitions and things like that. And Mark heard about it. The Bass Brothers, they heard about, you know, what was going on again, and they decided to give it another shot. So we went with it, and we recorded the album Infinite. I don't know if you ever heard of that album, but there was maybe, I don't know, 500 copies of the album pressed up, and we just pressed them up locally to see if we could sell them. And the shit ended up not selling. We got into a new agreement, and we decided to give it one more crack, me and the Bass Brothers. And we recorded the Slim Shady EP. And as soon as we recorded that, I was doing shows, getting little gigs around Detroit, in the Detroit area, little club gigs and things like that. And everything just started picking up. Like, you know, the tape started selling. There was a buzz. I would walk in the clubs. People would automatically know who I was. I started making like a pretty big name for myself, like locally. I was rhyming big words, but I wasn't really expressing myself, and I wasn't really expressing how I felt. You know, I wasn't putting my life into my music. And suddenly I started, I reached a point when my daughter was born where I didn't give a fuck anymore. I didn't care. I just was like, I was fed up with so much shit. I knew I had a baby on the way that I, you know, before she was born, and once she was born, I couldn't afford to buy her diapers. I couldn't afford to do anything. I had lost my job. I was working different jobs, temporary service, all kinds of jobs just to try to make ends meet. Didn't have anything, you know. Got evicted from the house I was staying at, and really reached a point where I just hit rock bottom. So I stopped giving a fuck, and it seemed like as soon as I stopped giving a fuck, other people started giving a fuck and caring about my music. So at the rate we were selling tapes, it was like we'd never done that before. We were moving 200-300 tapes a week, and that's a lot when you're just a little independent, not even really necessarily a label officially. So at that rate, we was just like, wow, this is crazy. We're actually doing something. So it gave us more faith and more motivation, and then we went out to LA and we started putting it in the stores. And I had been out there a few months before and took second place in a rap competition called the Rap Olympics. And I had gave my tape to this kid named Dean Geislinger, real young kid at the time. He was like 18. I gave it to him, and I was pissed because I lost the battle. I took second place in the battle, and I really thought I should have took first. So he wanted to take from me, so I kind of gave him a copy of the Slim Shady EP, thinking, yeah, whatever, you know, take the fucking tape. I don't care who you are. I'd been jerked around by so many labels. And then come to find out, 2 months later, 3 months later, while we was out in LA, all of a sudden we get a call from Jimmy Iovine and Dre himself saying, we want to meet with you. We like your tape. So I guess that's how it went down. Then I met him like a day, 2 days later. I met with him at the Interscope offices, and that's when I realized like this was actually happening.